the report card, which you can read on offthehooksports.com. We highly recommend that you do that. And we start off with quarterbacks. And Caleb, I want to remind everybody, because I used to have, not for you, but for everybody, I used to have to remind people that when I would do quarterbacks, it's not just the starter. And especially in a game like this, where the starter dominates and wins the game, well, that would be an A+, right?
Yeah, Nico Iamaleava himself is an A+. If he's not, he just misses it because of the fact that, I mean, there was like a throw he missed at the end of the second half, or the end of the first half, excuse me. And my standards are high. To be an A+, I can't point to anything you did wrong in a game, but he would be very, very close.
Quote of the weekend, by the way, did you hear where, and we wrote about it on offthehooksports.com, so I know you did. He said, I fell asleep. I've got to do better on those last two drives. Oh my goodness, that's what you want. Tyler Bray on Saturday night would have been on jet skis, throwing beer bottles at anything he could find, because, oh boy, you hammered Chattanooga. But Nico Iamaleava wants to get better. And that, to me, was a big standout quote in the press conference. And he didn't look overjoyed. Boo Carter did in an Instagram or TikTok video he posted where he's dancing. And did you see that?
Where Josh Heupel cut him off? Yeah.
Josh Heupel saw him from behind. Listen, Boo's still immature, but I've gotten no information that he's bad character. So I'm saying that's playful fun, not the smartest thing, but he's 18 years old. I'm cool with that. I could be, get off my yard. And
I actually think that shows a bit of respect for authority. He was probably like dancing to something that, you know, he wouldn't want to do around his coach, and he saw his coach come. He's like, okay, I don't want to see my coach. Like, I think that's actually showing a level of respect, because he's saying, I don't want to do this around my coach. I do this around my friends and for fun.
Right. But you don't want to go live from the locker room in general.
Maybe that's fair.
Running backs get an A. I've got.
Well, I didn't point this out. We didn't finish the quarterback segment. Yes, they got an A- because Gaston Moore threw an interception and he overshot a clear touchdown pass. Sorry, it's just how it goes.
Guys, I may have been wrong about Gaston Moore. I'm the first to tell you when I'm wrong. I want to see more. Caleb and I are not going to draw any positive or negative strong conclusions off of this game. Okay, that's not going to happen. But I will agree, I may have been wrong about Gaston Moore based off my information. It would be my first, because I told you Ethan Davis was going to play well. Jackson Ross was going to make a play. I picked a true freshman that's going to make a play, Caleb. It's pretty good. Running backs with an A.
I really, in terms of running, they did everything you're supposed to do. I couldn't criticize them at all. The unit as a whole had 288 yards. Dylan Sampson was the star, but Cam Selden, Deshaun Bishop, both ran well. Khalifa Keith and Peyton Lewis also got in the game. And the only reason it wasn't an A+ was because of the chop block by Dylan Sampson. I mean, again, I nitpick. You got to be perfect for me to give you an A+, and the chop block was not perfect.
I think that's extra nitpicking. I think he may have stumbled into the guy. But anyway, he did commit the penalty. Wide receivers get an A.
Yeah, wide receivers were amazing. The starters were an A+. Caleb Webb had a drop that I think pushed Nico out of his rhythm in the first half. Do you remember that? It was Nico's first incompletion. And because I was just about to text Dave. I was about to text him, Dave, Nico's approaching T. Martin's record. But then Caleb Webb dropped that pass.
Of consecutive passes, which, wow, that would have been amazing if he would have done that, because he was throwing real balls. If you remember, was it against South Carolina? T. Martin got close to the record, and he started throwing a lot of swing passes and screen passes so he could get most consecutive passes as a Vol, which I believe he still holds that record, right?
Aaron Rodgers broke it later. For Tennessee, he holds it, but Aaron Rodgers broke T. Martin's record when he was at Cal in 2004.
Oh, wait. What? No, I'm talking about the Tennessee record for most consecutive passes. It's complete.
Yeah. He still has the Tennessee record. It was an NCAA record, though.
Oh, I
Aaron
never knew
Rodgers
it was an
broke
NCAA record, actually.
Oh, yeah, it was an NCAA record. Yeah, that was an all-time NCAA record. Aaron Rodgers broke it in 2004.
I did not know that. Lesson learned. Okay. And then up next, with the report card, we have wide receivers get an A, Caleb.
Yeah, we just talked about receivers. Caleb Webb dropping that pass.
I misspoke.
what?
Tight ends get an A+, Caleb.
Ethan Davis had a touchdown catch. Holden Stays got in the game with 2 catches. They were very good on run blocking. That stood out to me. The tight ends, actually, when they were held back for pass protection, they were very good in pass pro. They were much better than another unit we're about to talk about in pass pro. So I think the tight ends was an A+. This tight end unit is a rare weapon for Tennessee.
I told you. Did I not? That was in my prediction. That
was.
Other than the backup quarterback struggling a little bit, I nailed it last week. I'm not the one that typically pats myself on the back. Am I, Caleb?
Nope, you are not at all. You were very humble, Dave.
I was red hot. Hit that like button, by the way. Go ahead and subscribe. Turn your notifications on. Vote on the poll question. This is a day of celebration. I know it's just Chattanooga, and we're going to get to NC State, but enjoy today. And thank you for all those that tuned in to the Last Look post-game show brought to you by Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. That's Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Hahn. All right, Caleb, let's continue forward with the report card. And we go offensive line C+.
Yeah, I'm very hard on the offensive line. I'm not giving them credit for blocking for 300 yards on the ground. This was Chattanooga. They should have. Andre Carrig was part of that chop block by Dylan Sampson. It doesn't happen if Carrig doesn't whiff on his assignment.
Good point.
Lance Hurd whiffed on a block that got Nico Iamaleava sacked. John Campbell picks up a holding penalty. Those are really bad plays. So offensive line gets a D- for pass pro. They get an A for run blocking. Okay. So between the two, I got to go C.
Which equals C+. They have the ability to play much better than that. I don't think there's really any question about it. We get to the defense, the show represented by Banks and Jones. Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks and Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks and Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks and Jones. T. Scott Jones. BanksandJones.com. People are saying Dylan Sampson was Tennessee's top player against the Mocs, not named Nico, followed by Dante Thornton, Jordan Ross, and Tyree West. I could actually make a strong argument for a couple of different guys, but we will get to that. The report card continues. Who do we have next?
Defensive line, A+. I mean, particularly when you include the edge rushers. I mean, they only had 1 sack and only 5 tackles for loss, but Dave, that was more about what Chattanooga was doing. That's a glorified stat anyway, sacks. Defensive line played incredible in this game.
Yep. Okay. And then people were bringing up, where was James Pierce? Where was James Pierce? Where was James Pierce? Did that bother you at all?
Guys, that's going to happen sometimes this year. Teams are going to run away from James Pierce and test the other side of the line. James Pierce did play. There will be moments like that. This is why defensive ends and edge rushers should, like when Jadeveon Clowney did his Heisman campaign in 2013. That's so stupid. Edge rushers are never going to be able to do a Heisman campaign because you can literally scheme them out of games.
Right. I think that's very fair. And James Pierce is going to be just fine. Let's not forget that he was considered one of the top or the top edge rusher by Pro Football Focus in the offseason, in which he just started 3 games the previous year. So don't worry about him. He is going to be fine. Caleb, who's up next?
Linebackers get A-. I thought Keenan Peely was fine. Arian Carter was very good. They were great against the run. The only bit of nitpicking is I thought Chattanooga was able to move the ball some using their slot receivers. So I feel like they showed a few small, minor issues in coverage. But again, that was in the second half, and they kind of had gone to sleep at that point.
All right. Who we got up next?
Secondary, same issue to nitpick. I give them a B plus because they were great in the first half, but those couple of drives where Chattanooga got into field goal range, got one field goal, that was by working the slot receivers. However, if the secondary is a B plus through the year, Tennessee's winning a natty. I mean, easily.
That's a great point. That may be the strongest grade, Caleb, on your entire report card when it speaks to Tennessee's future success, because I think the offensive line will have better days. But if the defensive backs are a B plus, yes, I think if we say that at the end of the year, Tennessee's won a national championship. Would you disagree with that?
1000% agree. 1000% agree.
Sorry, next, no, that's fine. Next up is going to be place kicking gets an A plus.
Guys, it's very rare for freshman kickers in their first game to hit 40-yard field goals. And Max Gilbert in college at Tennessee, you can just go back and look. And Max Gilbert hit a 42-yarder, hit both his kicks. But Josh Tuberville gets credit too. Every one of his kickoffs went for touchbacks. I mean, it was perfect. Place kicking was perfect.
He just doesn't need to try to hit the ball so darn hard. I think he got overstressed last year, and that's why some floated out of bounds. He'll have a strong leg, and I wouldn't be surprised if that ended up at some point being a battle. We may never hear about it between Tuberville and Gilbert. Now, I also wonder if Tuberville might be called in if they need a long one, a long field goal attempt. Squirrel White, A plus.
No, not Squirrel White. The return game.
I'm sorry, return game A plus. I thought Squirrel White. He had the 20-yard punt return. Cam Selden had 35 yards on his kickoff return, and then Jordan Ross, who called him out, who said he'd have a great game, despite his underclassman status.
No, Dave, you did. I give you credit. I did say for a while, low key, that Jordan Ross could push James Pierce, but like, yeah, you nailed it, and that was. It was against Chattanooga, but you can tell levels of athleticism, and that was incredible, Jordan Ross. Before we roll out our report cards, we do have to talk about the one negative that you don't have to worry about, which was punting was a D, because Jackson Ross had one punt, and it went for 23 yards. You and I both know that's a fluke, Dave. Jackson Ross is the best punter in the SEC.
Yeah. Maybe he'll kick it with the other leg next time. It's still odd to me that a player can kick with either leg, because I couldn't. I'd
really love to kick it with somebody who can do that.
That's right. I don't know. Have you ever heard the joke about you got three knees?
No.
It's your right knee, your left knee, and your wee. All right. So
oh my God.
let's go to Tennessee's top players. It's on offthehooksports.com. And Tennessee's top players, well, I guess you have to start with what's his name?
Eberle.
Right?
Super obvious. Nico Iamaleava was the best player on the field, guys, and it's avant-garde to say anything different.
Yeah. I don't know what avant-garde means, but it's strong. So he was number 1. Jordan Ross was number 5. He got the block punt, and I'm telling you, he's going to be really, really good. Tyree West, kudos to him, because I do think they played extra attention to James Pierce. So Tyree West, somebody had to pick up the slack and make some plays, and Tyree West did that. Pretty awesome. Your thoughts on West's play?
Tyree West was the most high-profile recruit at the end of the 2021 season in Tennessee football's class. I have been waiting for him to emerge as a force on the line, and he may actually do that this year. I'm very, very high on him. We're forgetting about him, Dave. He has star potential, Tyree West.
Oh, he does. Yeah, he's you saw him get to the passer a couple of different times, but really that's not going to be his. I don't think that's going to be his primary goal. But at 6'3", I think he's about 280 pounds. They don't have a lot of guys that can move like him. Obviously, James Pierce is James Pierce, but he's a much smaller player. All right, so the top players that stand out continue with Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson, to me, and I know you still question his pass pro, and that's fair. And he did have that goofy little chop block. But to me, I think he's symbolic of how this offense is going to evolve a little bit. And he's going to be, not comparing him, but he's going to be kind of like a Marshall Faulk style, except I think he has the ability to run inside. I'm not taking that away from him. I just want to find ways, if I'm Josh Heupel, to get him the ball out in the flats, I want to get him the ball and screens and such. So Dylan Sampson was number 3.
That was one of your underrated predictions, Dave. You got two Tennessee tight ends did catch multiple passes. I meant to mention that, but the other one, you said he'd have 150 all-purpose yards. He had 12 carries for 20 for 124 yards, and lucky for you, he had 2 catches for 29 yards. So he went right over 150, right at 153, man. Nailed it.
Were all 4 of my predictions correct? I think.
No, maybe. Nico didn't hit 350.
Oh, but philosophically, you have to give me that, right?
No, I don't. I said he wouldn't, because I actually said he wouldn't because they would pull him so early. And also, you were wrong because you said Tennessee would give up 13 or more points. So you underestimated the defense.
Okay. Dante Thornton, number 2. And we know who was number 1 with Nico.
Yeah, Thornton and Nico. I mean, is anybody shocked by those two? Like that pitch and catch was incredible. And by the way, the that catch by Thornton that went for a touchdown where he reached out, that was deadly accurate by Nico, even though it didn't look it. He had to throw it there to make sure that the defensive back could not get a hand on it whatsoever. And sometimes when you throw a pass where only your receiver can catch it, it may look like the receiver had to stretch out for it, but that's a lot of times on purpose so the defensive back can actually not make a play on it.